Thank you, Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, it's a real pleasure to be speaking in this budget policy statement speech, in that the real issues that are on the minds of New Zealanders is how we manage ourselves through the most challenging economic environment in a generation. These are the issues that matter, and it has been incredibly telling, Mr Speaker, over the recess period to contrast the view that's come through from government ministers with the alternative economic vision that's come from opposition parties. You've had the Minister of Finance talking about the need to responsibly manage finances. You've heard them talking about the plans this government has for building a more competitive and more productive economy. You've had ministers making announcements about improving the quality of public services for New Zealanders, and you've seen significant announcements about rebuilding Christchurch. And Mr Speaker, what I want to contrast that with is the announcements over the recess from opposition parties that show that they are completely out of touch with the challenges that New Zealand faces. Now, I hand to the member Annette King. What was the big announcement that we had from the Labour Party over the recess period? It was that they want to have another $450 million on extending paid parental leave. And the simple question I've got for the Deputy Leader of the Labour Party is, where is the money coming from? You see, they have learnt absolutely nothing, Mr Speaker, from their 9 years in government, where they spent without a care in the world, and in which they passed on to this government a decade of deficits. But it wasn't just the Labour Party who are out spending money that this country does not have. We had New Zealand First out there saying, hey look, we're going to have cheaper power costs for all older people. What a lovely thing to have. What a lovely thing to have. But my challenge for the New Zealand First Party is, over the budget policy statement period of 5 years, that policy is expected to cost $170 million. And my challenge for New Zealand First is, where is the money coming from? Can they not comprehend that there is a global financial crisis in which people are losing jobs, in which countries are going broke because of policies, reckless spending by parties the likes of New Zealand First and the Labour Party? And then if you look in terms of the argument for growth, because I think every member of this House would say that the real future for New Zealand in getting jobs and growing incomes is to grow the economy. And yet in every single commentary over the recess period, we heard reasons from opposition parties as to why we should not take initiatives to grow the economy. Let me take my own electorate. A particular initiative is the growth of aquaculture in the Marlborough Sounds. That's a growth of business that is estimated to create another 300 jobs in Nelson and grow the exports of this country by over $100 million a year. And where was the opposition on that issue over the summer? They said they're opposed. And then we come to another initiative, such as the growth of agriculture. And again, over the summer, we heard from opposition parties, while they're opposed to the growth of agriculture. We heard the debate over the Convention Centre, an initiative for Auckland that would create over 1,000 jobs. And again, where was the opposition on that opportunity for New Zealand to grow tourism and grow jobs? And again, parties opposite were in the no camp. And take another one. There are tremendous opportunities for this country around minerals and petroleum. And I was interested again to hear from opposition parties why we can't grow the minerals and the petroleum sector. And so I just have a very simple question for members opposite over the budget policy statement. Why is it, when there's any proposition for growth, for jobs, for exports, that party opposites say no? Because they cannot stand up in this House, talk about higher incomes, talk about closing the deficit, talk about more jobs if on every single issue that comes along, all they can do is promote new ideas for spending government money we don't have and reasons why we can't have jobs or growth. You see, Mr. Speaker, they are the issues in this budget policy statement that contrast the government from the opposition parties. Because it's very easy to give waffly speeches about wanting to grow the economy, wanting to grow exports, wanting to be able to create opportunities for New Zealanders, but every time it comes to the test, every time it comes to the debate over creating jobs and wealth, opposition parties say no. I just challenge members opposite who want to close the deficit to say, well, OK, what's your ideas for ensuring that New Zealand gets back into the black by 2014. Right. Members and ministers on this side of the House have in this budget policy statement sent a very important plan down for New Zealand to balance the books. And I want to hear from Labour, Green, New Zealand First, members of the opposition, where's their plan to deal with the question of debt? Because, Mr. Speaker, my worry is that when you scratch the surface of the policies opposite, it sounds like it's in Greek. It really does. Every initiative I've heard from Labour members involves more spending, less jobs, less opportunities, and that is no recipe for New Zealand getting through this very challenging economic period. I hear members from New Zealand First interjecting. Simple question. Where is the $150 million coming from to fund Winston Peters' policy of cheap power bills for the superannuitants? I'm hearing, I'm listening. Where's the $150 million coming from? And my challenge to the members of the Labour Party, who have over the recess promised paid parental leave. My simple question for Labour members, where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from, Mr. Cunliffe? They're silent. Absolutely silent. Well, I say, Mr. Speaker, if we're going to have a sensible, mature debate on the budget policy statement, members opposite who go around the country promising more spending to everybody need to front up and say where the money's coming from. Because members on this side of the House say the days of increased debt, increased spending, borrow and hope are over. It's time this country had to earn a living. It's time we grew the productive economy. It's time we balanced the budget. That is the right economic strategy for New Zealand, and is why this John Key government is the right answer for the challenges this country faces.
Mr. Speaker.
Barbara Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.